Hey, this is Brandon Steele. Welcome to the Mainsail Financial Group Podcast series, where we host industry and industry experts to really help share some guidance, some insights into the areas that we don't necessarily get a focus on day to day. Today, we want to thank Ali Samael for joining us to share his perspective on the current housing market and kind of what may be ahead for this very, very hot Seattle market. So thanks, Ali, for joining us. Ali was actually featured on HGTV's House Hunters, also in 45 Business Magazine's 30 Under 30. He is a Seattle kind of based celebrity real estate agent and very well known for his presence on social media and also relationship with the Seattle Seahawks. So thanks so much for joining us. We're really happy to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brandon. I appreciate the introduction. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, of course. And if it's all right, we'll kind of jump right into it. I think.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready for you.
Awesome. Yeah, I think your intro says enough. So we'll leave it at that. And I think maybe to start us out, I just want to hear a little bit about some of the areas that you focus in and kind of what your perspective is on what's behind us and what's ahead for us here in the Seattle market that just seems to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, areas that I really focus on, I would say it's more who I focus on. I definitely consider myself that millennial agent. I focus heavily on millennials, and we tend to target more that east side, that 405 corridor. So that's where you'll mainly find me, and really just targeting just the millennial market. Outside of them, I have a great relationship with the Seattle Seahawks, so oftentimes you'll see me with them as well. But as for the market and kind of where it's going right now, I definitely think, and I wholeheartedly believe that millennials have a huge impact on the market. And the reason why it's at where it's at right now is because millennials are out there shopping, because they're out there shopping so aggressively as well.
Interesting. So can you maybe expand on that a little bit? Obviously, I know a lot of millennials are getting into the housing market, but maybe what you think has led up to that, or what's going to get into that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll first start off by saying 3 years ago, I took this real estate course, and I remember being in this seminar with maybe about 50 or 60 different agents. And the speaker had asked everyone a question, and it was, who do you believe is the market that we need to target? Or who do you think is the age range we need to target? And, he gave us a couple options, and he said, do you believe it's the baby boomers or do you believe it's the millennials? And everyone rolls their hand for the baby boomers. And I was the one and only out of 50, 60 agents that rolls their hand for millennials. And they asked me why. And I said, well, because I'm a millennial and I know that, everyone they're trying to buy a home right now. And the speaker said that he didn't believe that was correct, because he said millennials don't have money. And then 3 years ago, everyone believed that baby boomers needed to sell their homes because they're all getting older. Mm-hmm. And then they eventually need to downsize. So let's all target the baby boomers because they need to downsize, they need to move out, they need to sell, they need to move somewhere else. So let's all target them. And I stayed the course with the millennials. And I said, no, I still believe the millennials would be there. Yeah, they don't have money. Yeah, a lot of millennials went through schooling during the recession. And so a lot of them aren't as educated as many other, age groups. But I still believe that they had to live somewhere. So, long and behold, a year ago, Zillow puts out, statistics, and I believe that it said somewhere around like 47 or 49% of all buyers were millennials. Wow. And the next, you found yourself a year later into this year, more than half of buyers now are millennials. Mm-hmm. And it just comes to show, like, it takes some time. A lot of millennials couldn't buy at that, early 20, mid 20, or even late 20 age. But, I started doing this trend on social media, and it was hashtag under 30 club. Let's get a home under 30. Uh-huh. Hashtag under 30. And I think that a lot of millennials find inspiration from it. I've been having a lot of people reach out to me, asking me questions about how can I get pre-approved for a loan? What do I need to do? What's the process in buying a home? And sure, it took a long time. So a lot of these buyers don't qualify right away, but they incubate and they're motivated. And that's all I really need. Or that's all any agent needs, is you just need a motivated person who is willing to put in the work to buy the home.
Sure.
And you got yourself a buyer. So, I believe that, that that there's a handful of other young millennials out there that, still need to buy homes, and they're going to make a huge impact on the market. And so, me being able to connect with them and build relationships with them and just kind of feel where they're coming from has definitely helped me out a lot.
Okay, that's great. I'm sure that has a lot to do with your success in that market. Then is your belief and your ability to stick with it.
Yeah, absolutely. That, and I would say the other thing too is really social media.
Okay.
I know a lot of people more recently have been believing in social media. When I first started real estate, it was all about knocking on doors and farming. It was really big on that. But I wasn't good at that. I'm not a door knocker. Like that's just not me. I'm a little. I was born in the younger generation where it's just a little bit too clean cut. If I see a dog, I'm gonna run away. That's me. But one thing I'm good at is I'm good at social media. I've always been good at social media. I've always been able to connect with people on social media. So I went back to social media, and I guess you can kind of call me a social media agent because that's where you'll find my market, millennials, all of them on social media. So that's where I connect with them, and we're able to relate to each other. They see everything that I post. I do stories from behind the scenes, so it's always raw. They see the good times and they see the bad times, and there's where we are able to build trust.
Yeah, that's great. It's awesome that you've been able to build that niche and kind of find your brand that way. I have a question. So especially knowing now that's kind of been your focus, you had said something within there that kind of related to the financing behind this, right? That some have a hard time paying for these homes and all that. Right now, financing is, I don't want to say loose, but it's a little easier, right? We're getting great interest rates. We're able to put very little down. Do you see that changing anytime soon, or what's your perspective on that side of things?
That's a great question. I did hear a couple weeks ago that the federal government did release news that interest rates were going to go up to 6% by 2023. I do believe that as time goes on, especially in the next couple of years, I do believe that there are going to be some sort of regulations, and I think it's just to protect the industry, just the field. We can't just give anyone loans now because, look at what we just went through with the pandemic. Look at everyone who just got furloughed. So I think it's going to be vital that you have a job that is an essential, and it's going to be a question on what type of job is it that you have? Is it like online based, or do you actually have to show up in person? And are you going to be around a bunch of people? And you never know. I feel like they might even pop up the question on, depending on where you work at. Well, are you vaccinated? Because if another variant or a strand of virus comes through, are you going to lose your job? So I think that banks are thinking about that more. And you're right. It is very loose, but I feel like they're going to do something about it, just because they're going to do whatever it takes to protect them.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that thought about the vaccination side of it. That's very interesting. Yeah. Do you think that would impact the way the market has gone around here lately? Do you think that will have a negative impact, or, what are your thoughts on that?
Are you talking Seattle? Are you talking like the Northwest? Like you talking the Steele County area?
Yeah, locally.
You might think that it will impact it. No, I don't think it will impact it at all. This market is so strong. I've had so many conversations with people about will the market crash, and I tell them all, like, hey, let it crash. Let it crash, because the King County, this Northwest, the Seattle area, in my personal opinion, I feel like this will be one of the very last places to ever feel it. If the market were to dip, it would dip, and it'll take a softening, but I don't think that it will be as drastic as what people think. When people are thinking of a crash, or an impact on the market, they're thinking, 2007, 2008. But back in 2007, 2008, the companies that you had were like Boeing and Microsoft, and then those were really the big wigs.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have so many other companies that are just heavy hitters. You have Amazon. You have two of the richest guys in the world that live right down the street from my office. Two of the richest guys in the world. So there's a reason why they live here. You have DocuSign here. I just saw Hulu just set up an office downtown. You have Facebook here. You got Google, Amazon, Microsoft is expanding in Redmond. Boeing is still here. You have all these tech giants. OfferUp right down the street from you, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
All these tech companies are all here, and unless they drastically move somewhere else, or unless Seattle, decides they want to do this giant Amazon tax and kick Amazon out of here, I don't think the Seattle market's going anywhere. Every day, traffic gets worse, and that means something. That means that there's too many people here. So when there's too many people, that means they need to live somewhere. So either rent is going to go up or housing prices are going to go up. One or the other, and whichever one goes up doesn't matter because they're both going to go up. Someone's going to run out of inventory.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And actually, that brings up a question I wanted to make sure to talk a little bit about too, which is, especially early on when COVID first hit, there was all this talk about people moving out of the city, moving out to the suburbs.
Yeah.
And I don't really know the details on this, but I'm curious your perspective as to whether or not that actually happened. And then what you're seeing now, is that still a trend, or what does that kind of look like in today's day?
Absolutely, I would say it is a trend.
Yeah.
Before I would always say that I'm focusing just on the suburbs. I'm going to be strictly this area, this realm right here. I'm not going to leave King County. Oh, and I promise you, I drove the furthest I've ever drove for a client. Do you know where Blaine is?
Yeah, I sure do.
Okay, I just found out where Blaine was.
Right up by the border, right?
Yeah, because I drove there.
Oh, that's a long drive.
I said, where is this? I had no idea. I had one of my buyer agent drove up there to do a showing, and I didn't realize how far it was. And then during closing, I had to come show my face, and we're driving and we're driving and we're still driving. And I'm like, geez, like I'm almost out of gas. Where are we? But people are moving out further. It's because they don't have to go into the office anymore.
Yeah.
I have tons of friends that are working from home permanently, and I have friends in the tech industry that even work at places like Zillow that can apply to stay at home permanently and work from home permanently. And I'm starting to have more clients go out further and further. There's a huge development going down by Lake Tapps, out in the Bonnie Lake area. I believe it's Tehele. There's a huge development going on down there where they have like 4 or 5 different builders down there. So, and more people are going out. In areas such as like Kent and Auburn, you're starting to see homes in the $1 million range. I just listed a $2.25 million property in the furthest part of Kent you can go. And you're starting to see homes like that out there, and that just means that people are moving out there. During the pandemic, it showed it. People are willing to go a little bit further because they don't have to go into the office anymore. So I definitely see it. I definitely think that is a trend, and I definitely think that it's going to continue to go forward, especially with the way that house prices are going up. People are just going to move further. They don't have to go to the office anymore.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I know. I think that I've seen something about how this kind of happens from time to time. Like we get these exodus from the city, and then people come back in. So it's interesting to hear your take that it is happening and that you expect it to continue, because
it will. I absolutely say that it will. There's too much going on that says that it won't. And I'll even tap into other markets. Let's just talk about like just business in general. One of the biggest companies out there growing right now is the EV sector, the electric vehicle market, right? Mm-hmm. And now you have, who do we have right now? We have Tesla, huge, and Teslas, they continue to go up. And you have their other competitors coming in like NIO and like Lucid, who are going to be even bigger, and Lucid, they're already down in the Bay Area. They're already down in California. Eventually they're going to be here in Seattle as well. And people are going to drive electric vehicles that drive themselves. So I don't know if these cars are going to drive themselves, like, okay, if I have to take a commute into the office, that's fine. I'll take my phone call or my email while I'm commuting there, and it'll just be a normal thing. And I believe that that's where the world is going to go. The world's going to go to a place where cars will drive themselves. And when they do that, there's no need to live in the city anymore.
Sure.
You can live a little bit further, take your phone calls, take your meetings, while in the car. And I think that will happen.
Sure. Interesting. Okay. So all this obviously is really pointing to higher prices, right? I mean, they've already been high. Sounds like you feel very, very likely to continue. Are you seeing lately any sort of crazy, above ask and concessions and all this stuff that comes along with a hot market like this, or has
Oh,
that?
absolutely. I almost lost a deal to a crazy offer, and we placed a crazy offer. The other offer was crazier. But we went, I think it was like $150,000 above asking price
Wow.
on it was on a brand new construction home by D.R. Horton. And we placed an offer. We threw it way up there. It was one of those offers where you put an escalation on it, and you think to yourself, no one is going to get up here. It's one of those crazy ones. And then someone comes in even crazier, and it was the oddest thing. The agent calls me to verify if our offer was real.
Uh-huh.
He didn't believe it. He said, hey, is this he's like, is this Ali? I was just calling because I think you're the competing offer. I just wanted to know, what was your offer? Because, we beat you guys, and I just want to make sure that yours was real.
Huh.
And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I'm insulted, so I almost want to tell this guy to kick rocks. And then the other part of me was like, okay, this guy is in awe as well. So I'm just going to tell him, I'm like, yeah, ours is real. We went 150 above asking, and you beat us. But if you guys don't want it, my client's willing to buy it for this astronomical price. And he tells me that his client did the same exact thing. They just threw it up there, not even thinking that it was going to get up there, and it did.
That's wild.
So, yeah, it is getting crazy. It is starting to slow down, though.
Okay. Interesting.
It is starting to slow down.
Okay. Yeah. So although it's starting to slow down, just to maybe help some of the listeners from either the buying or selling side or both, are there some certain like concessions or escalations or like something like that where you think that they should be aware of and make sure not to negotiate? Like I've seen people waiving inspections. I don't know if that's an example or not, but those types of things.
You said the question is what not to waive?
Yeah, like if there are certain concessions that buyers or sellers are making to get a deal done that maybe shouldn't be negotiated.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say that with the market going where it's at right now, there are some areas where you do have room for negotiation. And when I say that, I seriously mean some areas, because there are certain pockets in the King County area and the Snohomish area that are still very, very hot. So don't go in with your guards down. You still want to come in strong. But you really want to vet your counterpart. So whoever the seller is, have your agent vet them. Ask them some questions, such as, how many offers do you have in hand? Have you been talking to anyone else? Are there anyone else interested? If they do have offers in hand, how many offers do you have? That way it gives you an idea of where they're at. And then if they're willing to tell you, let them know, like, hey, I don't want to waste any time at all. Like the offers that you have in hand, like, are they, above this price? Because this is the offer that I'm coming in at, and I don't want to waste any effort, any time trying to put this in if it's just going to get denied. If your agent is able to find out some information and gather up that info, then great. It'll give you an idea of how to leverage your offer. So there's not really a single area that you want to be careful about. I would say if there's no offers at all, then yeah, go in guns strong. I just did that this morning. We came in and we asked for everything, and they were on the market for a month. And, the agent called me back and said, yeah, I don't know, my seller's not going to take it. And I said, okay, well, what are you willing to take then? And she's asking me, well, go back and talk to your buyers and then, see if they're willing to do this. And I said, how about you go back and you talk to your seller and see what he's willing to do? Because the first person to spit out the number is always the one who loses. Okay. So let's find that out. Let me see what your seller's willing to do. And then we'll come back and then we'll talk. Sure. But in that scenario, we asked for a price reduction, and we asked for closing costs. We actually asked for all of our closing costs to be paid. We also included in a inspection, even though they already had an inspection done. And we did that purely just because, my client felt that they wanted to have their own inspection for reassurance. They're first-time home buyers. And I said, that's perfectly fine. We're willing to do that. We left I want to say we left all of our contingencies in there, just to see what they're willing to do. In other situations, yeah, we do waive certain contingencies. More common ones are going to be the verification period. A lot of people waive that because no one really uses that anyways, unless they're going to try to figure out a way how to back out, but there are tons of ways that you can still find a back door. You still have your finance addendum, which is common, and then you can use that to back out. If you decided you wanted to waive your inspection, you just want to know, okay, well, you just want to be comfortable going in and knowing if something does happen, you're going to take care of it. And if you're okay with that idea, then, waive that. But also keep in mind the inspection contingency, you have to pay for your own inspection. So if you're that first time home buyer who, is pinching pennies and wanting to save $1, just know that inspection is going to cost you $400 to $500. So we can waive the inspection and maybe ask for $400 or $500 for our concessions. It's not much, but it's something. We can ask for that, or you can spend $400 or $500 trying to get an inspection. And then after you get your inspection, just know that the seller is going to anticipate that you're going to ask for something, whether it be repairs or credit, they expect that you're going to ask for something. So in their mind, they're thinking to themselves, okay, this person, they're asking for the inspection of one of two things. They're either going to try to use it to back out the deal, or they're going to try to use it to pinch pennies and try to get a discount somewhere. So as a seller, they don't want that. Okay. So as a buyer, you have to ask yourself, okay, well, am I going to back out this deal anyways? Or am I 100% sold on this deal, whether or not whatever comes out the inspection, I'm going to buy it anyways because I can fix it up. My uncle is a contractor. Yeah. Or if I do this inspection, I'm going to ask for concessions, but exactly how much concessions am I trying to ask for anyways? And do I have enough to cover that? And if the answer is yes, I got enough to cover it. Yes, my family member is a contractor. Then we probably don't need an inspection because you already have all the tools you need anyways. Okay. So I think you just really have to weigh it out. You just have to weigh it out and just kind of see where what areas you can leverage and see what you really, really need. If it's closing costs, ask for the closing costs. I always ask my buyers up front, what's more important to them. Is saving money in the long run, whether it be $50 or $100 on your mortgage each month, is that more important to you, or is saving $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 up front more important to you? Mm-hmm. And depending on what that is, we're either going to ask for closing costs or we're going to ask for a price reduction.
Okay. I think if it's okay, I think what I heard through that was basically that it totally depends on the situation.
It 100% depends on the situation. Yeah. I definitely always ask clients a little bit further in detail what they actually really need. Everyone wants a deal, but what do you actually need?
Yeah. No, that's good. I think that's good to hear. I'm sure a lot of people like to hear that too, instead of, the standard boilerplate answer every time. It's good to understand what's important to them.
Absolutely.
If you have the time, I want to ask you one more question.
Yeah, what's going on?
All right. So one of the things that I've been noticing is that lately, any given home has been traded a lot over the last year or so. Some homes have been traded 2, even 3 times just within that year period. And so I'm curious if you're noticing that as well and why you think that might be the case.
I apologize that my volume was kind of low on that one. When you said that they were being traded?
Yeah, I've seen, a couple, one home, for instance, the other day I saw had been bought and sold 3 times in the last year.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. I would say, Brandon, what's the question again?
Sure. So basically, I've just noticed that lately it seems like a lot of homes have been sold multiple times recently.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious if from your experience, if that's something you've been seeing as a trend as well, and what might be the reason for that.
Oh, got it. Okay. Yes. I definitely think that there is a trend. I am seeing it. And I think the reason for that is just the high inflation in the market.
Okay.
A lot of people that bought a home, I'd say 2 years ago, are already up $100,000 on their valuation on their home. So why not cash out? If you want to take that money and cash out, you're already past that 2-year mark. so you can avoid capital gains. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just putting that out.
but correct.
But yeah, you are past that 2-year mark. So you can avoid that 20% and sell your home, and then pocket that money and use that and down pay on a different home. And I think a lot of people are starting to do that. And then also the other thing too is a lot of people are, they are in fear that there is going to be a huge shift in the market. So a lot of people kind of question that too, and they're backing out the market for that reason. Which I don't think that you should. I believe that you should hold on to as much property as you can, because life is like a game of Monopoly. The more property you own, you'll win the game. But yeah, I am seeing people trade a lot, very often, and I think it's because of how fast the market has been growing. It's one of those no-brainers where it's like, okay, well, why don't we cash out?
That makes sense. It's kind of that, the opportunity from all the growth, and then the fear of, what may be next, basically.
I low, sell high.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's maybe a good place to wrap up here. Appreciate your time. And if anybody does have any questions for you, is there a good place that they can find you or get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on all social media platforms at Ali the Guru. That's ALITHEGURU. On all platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I'm also on TikTok as well. I'm growing my little TikTok. We also have a podcast that we host as well called Topic of Discussion. I host it with two of my buddies, one former Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl champion, Michael Morgan, and the other one Super Bowl champion and Pro Bowler KJ Wright. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. I'm sure some folks will be checking out the podcast soon here. I appreciate your time. Obviously, if you guys have any questions for us, you can email us directly, info@mainsailfg.com. And thanks again, Ali, for joining us today. I think it was some good stuff, some good takeaways out today.